G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Trewin. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Karla Marie from Fiction Profits Academy, based in Vancouver, Canada. Thanks for your time today, Karla.
Hi, it's so great to be here. Thanks, Troy.
Let's start with how we know each other. Lisa from High Key Agency put us in touch. Thought you'd be a great guest for us.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Lisa.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Sure. So I'm the founder of a business called Fiction Profits Academy, and we're an online education company that helps people learn to build an online income through publishing ebooks on Amazon specifically, which is a little different than a lot of Amazon-based businesses which deal with physical products, and we're all digital, or they're mostly physical products, and we're all digital.
And those ebooks, you mean primarily they're read on Kindle?
Yeah, on the Kindle app, exactly. So this is publishing ebooks on Kindle, and specifically we specialize in fiction. Because we have the whole realm of nonfiction and fiction, but we do all fiction.
No, it's good that you niche down.
Definitely.
How did you start out?
So in 2013, I was looking for a way to make money online. I was pretty maxed out at the work that I was doing at that time, which was a yoga teacher, full-time yoga teacher. And I also had a young child. He was a year and a half at that time. And I wasn't making enough money. I had a lot of debt, and I just knew that there had to be a better way of doing things. And so I was always on the lookout for how to make money online and putting into Google and trying to figure out solutions for my situation. And I remember one day I specifically put into Google how to make passive income. I may have included on the internet in there. And then an article came up talking about different ways. And one of them was publishing ebooks. And I never heard of that before. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I started to look into that. And I took a really basic intro course on publishing ebooks. And actually started with nonfiction. So published a few nonfiction books, got them out there on Amazon. And saw a little bit coming in. I'm like, this is kind of cool. The interesting thing about that too is I never wrote any of those books. So the whole idea was publishing ebooks that I never had to write. And so I started hiring ghostwriters to write these ebooks. And then I published them on Amazon under pen names.
Yeah.
And I started with nonfiction, and it was going okay, making a little bit, but I just felt that there was more I could crack into to figure out how to make more of an income, make it more sustainable, and appeal to readers in a bigger market. And so just by studying the bestsellers, I saw that fiction books were selling really, really well. And specifically in fiction, romance books were like top of the charts. And so I'm like, well, why not just try to publish romance books? So I started hiring ghostwriters to write romance books for me. And I published them on Amazon under pen names. And it really got the ball rolling. Things started moving, started to get more and more sales come in, gained a lot of momentum. And that was the start of it. That's how I got started. And, I didn't have a model to follow for this. I was just figuring things out as I went, which was painful, but also super exciting. And it was especially exciting when I saw my ability to earn income growing from that. And it just transformed my life. And I've been a teacher, like I taught yoga for so long. Being a teacher is a huge part of who I am and how I feel I can impact people positively. And so as soon as I started getting really good results from my ebook publishing, then I started to get requests from other people for me to teach them. So I was part of a few Facebook groups where people were publishing ebooks and sharing results. So I started doing some one-off coaching here and there. And then that started to get momentum and kind of take on a life of its own. And because people I was teaching, they were replicating my results and having really great success with it. And so kind of just started there, just from people asking me to teach them, to coach them, kind of just one by one or just really small groups, to now where, for the past 9 years, I've been focusing on coaching. I've coached over 10,000 people, and have a sizable coaching business now. And I've reached and impacted a lot of people and changed a lot of people's lives financially. It's super rewarding.
That's great. And out of curiosity, when you typed into Google how to make passive income online, I assume you would have come across Pat Flynn.
Yes. Yeah. I'm super familiar with the name, not in detail, but yeah, definitely heard the name.
Yeah, he's got a similar story. He was an architect, sat the green exam so he could get his ticket to say designs buildings that are environmentally friendly. And because he would work on it at lunchtime at work, so he put it into a WordPress site so he could easily access and didn't have to keep emailing himself a Word document. This was probably 15 years ago. And he got made redundant, I think 2008 after the GFC, and noticed there was a bit of traffic on that blog page that was really just for him. So he turned that into an ebook, the Green Exam Academy, I think it was called, and he made a really good income out of it. And then after that, he called himself the crash test dummy of online businesses. So he'd go and test different business ideas online, and he'd document that. And until recently, the last couple of years, he was publishing his income statement, so you could see where his money was coming from. So he started off with an ebook journey as well.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It used to be like the Wild West. I feel like when I started, everyone's just kind of figuring stuff out. And right now, it's actually better that there's more competition because there aren't any loopholes or hacks anymore. You know what I mean? Like you have to be putting out good quality books, have a good brand. And so it's I've learned so much about business in the past 10 years in general, like online business and building brands and advertising and everything, because that's what's required. When in the past, Amazon, you're able to just like put books up there and they just sold because there wasn't as much competition. So it's actually really positive.
Is the ebook market still growing or is it stagnated?
Yeah, it's growing, still growing massively. And interestingly, during COVID, um, my clients, their businesses all improved because they're in the entertainment industry, like providing low cost entertainment for people, ebooks, really cheap, right, to read. And so in a lot of other industries, people's livelihoods were decreasing and they're in a lot of trouble. People who are publishing fiction ebooks were doing really, really well. And it's still growing. Like Amazon's huge, that market's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a brilliant move by Amazon to introduce the Kindle. So do you help people mainly through an online course, one-on-one coaching?
Yeah, so we have a digital course, which is like a video module course and a really active, lively Facebook group. But then beyond that, we also have a group coaching intensive program, which is a year-long program where they get a lot more hand-holding, more like done with you sort of experience. So we have both of those available.
Right. So you dabbled in the ebook area in 2013. When did you officially start Fiction Profits Academy? What year was that, and how old were you?
Yeah, 2015. So I started in 2015 and started FPA in 2015. I was 39 years old. And so I was just mentioning to you before we started that I didn't even start having an online business at all. I didn't start publishing ebooks until I was 37. So it's not like I was like some young, super young kid, like starting out. And I also not technically savvy at all, like kind of just knew enough to get by. And I still feel like I only know enough to get by, but I'm doing okay regardless.
And part of your journey, you also you tried a couple of other types of businesses as well, didn't you? Maybe tell the audience a bit about those. What happened to them?
Yeah, so I briefly tried to start a supplement company with a friend who is a naturopathic doctor. And so she had the product. I had like the internet marketing experience because I was already had been publishing ebooks and already was coaching for a few years, but jumped in without really knowing how expensive that business it is to start a business like that and how hard it is and how competitive it is. So jumped in, inevitably lost a lot of money, but was still trying to make it go for a little while. At the same time, I also had a Facebook ads agency for authors, so helping people who publish fiction ebooks make sales by running Facebook ads for them. And so I was doing that as well, which was going okay. But I realized at one point about 3 years ago that I needed to go all in on FPA in order for it to reach its potential. And that also happened like coincidingly with me starting to work with a partner who was a previous client of mine who built a 7-figure business based on what I trained him on. And he's like, hey, do you want a partner? Like we can really go in with figuring out this whole marketing thing with YouTube ads and doing all those sorts of things. And so I said yes. And we both committed at that point to go all in with FPA. So that meant no more supplement company, no more Facebook ads agency, and actually no more even publishing books, like no more publishing ebooks of my own anymore. Or, I was working with writers. Instead, I'm like, we need to focus all our energy into FPA, and we both committed to that, and it's definitely paid off. So
And what year did you make that commitment? The partner came in and you decided to just focus on it. What year was that?
yeah, that was 2020.
Yep. Great.
Yeah. Summer of 2020, I think, is when we really decided, like, let's just focus on this. Both of us go all in. We're both on the same page and aligned in that. So that was great. And then in a year after that, fall of 2021, we started working with 2 other partners as well. Because we were like reaching a ceiling and not being able to grow every month to what we knew our potential was. And I happened to know someone who was able to help us scale because he had done it in the past. And so really great partner to bring on, him and another person. And that also really helped things grow, and got a lot of momentum at that point as well.
Do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business over the last 9 years?
Yeah. Sure. So 2015 started with me coaching the odd person here and there, making like $1,000 here, $1,000 there. And it's just me, right? No staff, nothing. And for many years, I was a lone wolf. I did everything on my own. And I've relied a lot on just word of mouth, like organic. I was on a couple of YouTube interviews, got some people that way, but I was not doing any sort of advertising. So made a few thousand in 2015, a few clients here and there. And then last year in 2023, we did 8 figures FPA. So really amazing growth. It's like grown beyond what I would have ever considered possible in 2015. You don't know what you don't know at that point. And so as soon as we started realizing a few years ago that we are able to grow to that point, and then getting some key people in place and learning some things we really needed to learn and focus on, it is all possible, and it can happen really quickly. Even from 2022 to 2023, I can't think of a specific number, but like the growth we had within months was really quite staggering. And it all came down to everything lining up just as it needs to, with a webinar that converts, ads that convert, the ability to fund ads. So, yeah.
Assume you got a good handle on your LTV to CAC ratio, lifetime value to customer acquisition cost then?
Yes, I don't know those numbers off by heart though.
That's all right.
That's why. So it's interesting. Like my strong point is being a leader for our clients and for students, and I'm like the face of the business, and I'm really involved in the coaching. And my partner, the second partner I took on, he is essentially like the CEO of operations. He knows all of those things really detailed, and it's I probably should know all of those numbers off the top of my head, but I don't.
That's
So
all right. Yeah, we wrote an ebook, ironically, earlier this year, Marketing Funding Flywheel, and in that there's 3 principles that I impart on business owners when I start working with them. Not that we're a big marketing agency or business, but there's some fundamentals a lot of business owners just don't know about. And one of them is that LTV to CAC ratio. Even if you're not an online business or a subscription business, you've got predictable revenue, that ratio 3 to 1, that's lifetime value of gross profit, not sales, is key to scaling your marketing. And number of full-time equivalent team members, you obviously started on your own. How many are you up to now?
Oh, as far as full time, I'm not sure about full time. We do have a team of about 40 people. And so some of those are, most are in North America, a lot of are in Vancouver, actually. but then we have quite a few in the States as well, so kind of all over the place. But some are full-time, some are not full-time. I'm not sure specifically about full-time employees, how many we have.
Around 25 or 30, that would compress down to full-time equivalent.
Yeah, yeah, it would be about that.
We can just make the number
Mhm.
up. Partner, business
Okay,
partner.
sure. Yeah, we'll say, yeah, 20, well, we have about 25 full-time employees.
Right, okay. Yep, so it probably grosses up to
Yeah,
around 30 when you add in the part-timers. Yeah, that's great.
yeah.
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
Oh, the moment I felt I succeeded was when I had people that believed in me, and I I knew that what I was doing was something that can make a huge impact on people and has the ability to grow. And so for like success for me and succeeding isn't just a money thing for me. It isn't just like, oh, I've reached this amount of revenue for our business, or I've personally made a certain amount of money or anything like that. For me, like the success was being able to know that I've impacted a lot of people, like a lot of students. So like I said, we've had over 10,000 students. But also a newer measure of success for me, which I really didn't consider before, was having a big team, like having a team of 25, 30 people where these people's livelihoods are contingent on the fact that I'm providing something that is really valuable to
Yeah.
people. And so that was a huge measure of success, and really fulfilling to know that what I created in 2015 has had this ripple effect and has affected so many people so positively.
Yeah, great. Well, does that answer the next question? What does success look like to you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, success to me uh, is impact for sure, positively impacting people and leaving people in a better place than what they were at when they first came into our world. And that is something that I really focus on just in general in my life, but especially in my business. I want to be positively impacting people. And like personal success for me is like deep down when I dig into what it feels like, it's peace. Like to feel really at peace, uh, to feel like I'm fulfilled and be able to be completely present in the moment and be like, okay, you know what, things are good. Life is good. I'm happy. Um, and so interestingly, like success also isn't something that's always out of reach, right? It's something that I feel like I can tap into on a regular basis with wherever I'm at. Because I feel like the goalpost is like always moving for your your goals, right? What you actually are going to consider to be like, I've made it, I've reached the end, I've achieved everything I need to achieve. Because I don't think that is something that I'm ever going to do, because you hear stories about people too that they have this one thing in mind that they're like, I'm going to be successful when I achieve this one thing, and then they get there and then there's like an emptiness to that, right? So I'm just mindful of that, to kind of always be tapping into uh success in the present moment.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
Figuring out who your target demographic is in a very, very super specific way. So for us, we're marketing to women primarily. And because my journey and my message and the way that we're able to talk about that, it resonates with that audience. And I was able to transform my life as a woman in her late 30s. And there's a lot of women out there who want to do the same, transform themselves financially that way. So getting super specific about who you're impacting, and figuring out how to best reach them. So where do they hang out? What are they doing? And so for us, it was identifying that YouTube ads are going to be really effective, and they have been really effective for us the past few years. And also the way that we sell the program is through a webinar, so a sales webinar, and that works really great for us. I know there's a lot of different ways to market things, but the webinars worked really well for us.
On the webinar, I assume it's live. It's not evergreen, always there.
Always evergreen. Yeah.
It is evergreen.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Right. Because I've
Yeah.
got one of my businesses is in similar space. It's called the Distillers
Okay.
Institute. So we launched that 4 years ago, April 2020. And we've had over 600 students sign up for our two courses. So anyone in Australia or New Zealand thinking of starting a distillery, because that's kind of been my background for the last 10
Wow,
or
that's very specific. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so the first course is planning, helping them do the research, put the business plan together, marketing plan, market research, and financial model. And then that helps them decide are they in or out. That was the purpose of that first course because we wanted to discourage more people to go into it. Because as you know, starting a business is already hard, but capital intensive, unlike distilling, they really need to be informed. So that's what we did, and we moved to an evergreen webinar late last year, actually. So yeah, we've been
How
wondering.
has that been?
Oh, it's okay. We're still tweaking it at the moment because the live ones went really well. The evergreen ones not as much at the moment. We've changed our funnel a little bit and a few other marketing things. It's not directly relatable to that, perhaps. So I don't know, but they're always interested in the digital marketing, online marketing space, and who's using webinars
Yeah.
and live or evergreen.
Yeah, definitely. We've been doing Evergreen for the past few years. Previous to that, I used to do live webinars when I was still like in my lone wolf phase where I was just doing everything on my own. And yeah, they would do okay, but the Evergreen's where it's at for scaling. Like it's like when we're um advertising at scale like we do, Evergreen
Yeah,
is the way to go for
yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Out of interest, how long does the webinar go for? 60 or 90 minutes?
90 minutes. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. And so we've probably done, I'd say 60 plus iterations of the webinar,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
like testing. And you have to do like 10 tests, 10 different versions before you actually figure out, one that works. So it's one of those things. It's a lot of work. And it's always trying to figure out why people keep viewing or why people view it to the end and then don't buy and like or just there are always a lot of things to figure out.
How did you fund your business?
So at the beginning, like I said, I was just doing organic, was on YouTube channel interviews, things like that. And it was a lot of word of mouth. So when it was just me DIYing it, I wasn't doing any advertising. I had a mailing list and I'd mail people, like send her an email telling them when I had a start date for a program. Like I think I was doing like a 4-week or 5-week program at that point. And then people would register. But then a few years ago, revamped, started to do YouTube ads and everything. And at the beginning, we were funding it just from our own uh, credit cards, like just funding it that way. And then when we took on the other partners, they invested a little bit for funding as well. And then paid them back very quickly. And then that's been it. So we've never had any investors. No, we've never.
So
Yeah,
they put cash in, but that was more short-term loans, not they didn't buy equity of what
exactly.
you built up. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It was a short-term loan.
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Yeah, definitely. It's been such an interesting experience. There's the possibility to scale in the way you can scale with selling a digital course like this has been really remarkable. Like I was mentioning, we have the digital course, but then we also have the intensive coaching, which is a year-long program. And so we have a certain, percentage of people that upsell into that. So that requires more fulfillment. So I have a number of coaches on staff who do that. So it's a little bit more complex that way. But yeah, I wouldn't do anything different. I think this is like been it's such an opportunity,
Mm.
and more people are looking for ways to make money, extra money from home, that kind of a thing. So it's been really great. And it's been great doing is we've been so focused on being ethical about everything the whole way and not over promising and really delivering everything that we say we're going to deliver. So it's been wonderful. Like for Trustpilot, we have almost, I think we even maybe have cracked 2,000 Trustpilot reviews for the
That's great.
program.
You've had
Yeah,
10,000
really,
people
really
through.
good.
20% have left a
Yeah.
review on Trustpilot. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, and like 4.9 rating. So it's been good. So that is a really affirming to me. Like when I go and look at those two, I'm like, oh my gosh, people are like really loving their experience. And that's been such a focus for me, is making sure that people feel taken care of in the program and that they're supported at the highest level possible in the context of it being a group program.
Yeah, I'm just blown away. Again, it's another hidden little niche business or that I just wouldn't have thought of. And secondly, wouldn't have thought there was that much demand for it. But you've helped well over 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And also with
Yeah.
a stat I heard recently that I'm surprised ebooks are not kind of plateauing or going backwards. Podcast listening is 6 times more than audiobooks at the moment. So that's a really podcasts obviously are really growing quite fast. But yeah, well, that's
Yes.
great.
I think it's different for maybe fiction versus nonfiction too.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
nonfiction, yeah. So interestingly, fiction is, especially when it comes to like a romance niche or some of the smaller mystery niches, people are voracious and want to read as many books as possible. Like some readers will read a romance novel, a new romance novel every single night. Like it's crazy. So a big part of what we're teaching people too is to build their own audience, right? Build a mailing list and market to those people over and over and over again. With nonfiction, you don't see that. Like
No.
you're not gonna, I mean, say you're in the meditation niche and you're publishing meditation books, you're not gonna have a reader reading a new meditation book every night,
Yep.
right? So mhm.
Yeah, I remember Mum had a lot of Mills and Boone books laying around the house. She was right into the fiction
Oh
romance.
yeah. For sure. I remember, yeah, being a kid too, and like at the grocery store, they'd be, I'm
Yep.
not sure if it's the same in Australia, but they'd be at the grocery store, like behind the
Yep.
cashier or whatever. There's like all these romance novels.
Yeah.
Now people are just reading on their phone. They still read them. It's just more discreet.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
The most stressful point I would say was a few years ago or a couple of years ago before we started working with our more recent two partners. It was just my partner, my one partner and myself, where we were all in. We weren't doing anything else. I'd always had kind of a backup plan before. I was like teaching yoga or had an ads agency or working on other things. This time it was all in. He was all in. And we, like I was mentioning, we'd reached a ceiling where we were spending so much on ads. We weren't seeing much of a return and we were seeing our personal money like disappear. And it was scary because we knew that we had something had to change and we had to like make some major moves in order to make this thing really go. And so I think that that was the scariest point of being completely all in on something and being at the point of not seeing the fruits of our labors yet, right? And I think that's a point where a lot of people give up. And we didn't give up, even though it was hard. There were tears shed a few times, and my partner talking me into staying. I remember once having a specific conversation and me being like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. He's like, no, we have to keep going. And I'm so glad that we did. But because it's hard. It requires a lot of emotional resilience to be in business at a high level.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Have you heard of the 4x2 rule?
Remind me.
I heard it when I was living in London. This venture capitalist said on stage that he obviously gets hit up a lot for money, and he says to the entrepreneurs pitching to him that it's either going to take 4 times as long and cost twice as much, or take twice as long and cost 4 times as much. The only difference is you get to choose which path.
Yes, absolutely. It always, everything that in business that I've done actually mostly is the same thing. It has cost way more and taken way longer, or just way more work. Like,
Yeah, it's in our DNA. We're highly optimistic business owners, entrepreneurs at the start, I should say.
which is good. We need that initial optimism to get going and to build a little initial momentum, right? But I mean, a few years ago, if you would have told me, oh, you're going to be rewriting a webinar 65 times the next 3 years, like when you're jumping in, you're like, oh, this is going to work the first time, and then it doesn't. Then you keep going, and then like a few years later, you're like, oh, this is just something that we do now. We just like write and rewrite webinars and ads and try different things, and
But
some
yeah,
things fail,
mm,
right?
Yep.
some things fail, and that's part of the process. And also one thing, I think another good another good tip that I've learned in the past few years is that when you're testing, be sure you're not changing too many things when you're testing. Like really narrow it down. So I know you can get excited and be like, oh, I want to change this and this and this. But in order to really identify what works and what isn't working, you have to be just testing one thing at a time. And we've made that mistake on a couple
Yeah.
of different occasions, changing too many things at once, and then you don't even know why something didn't work or why something did work.
Yeah. Great advice. What area in business do you
Mhm.
feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
I think what I've had to work on the most is letting go and surrendering parts of the business that I'm not an expert in, and just trusting that other people know more and can do better than me, and allowing them to do that. And now I feel like it's easy because past few years I've just kind of done that so much, and there have been people that have stepped into our world who are so good at what they do and have really helped us so much that now I can just focus on what I do really well, which is the coaching side of things and managing people. I'm a good nurturer. I'm good at helping take care of people, whether it be the coaches or the students. And so I'm focused in on that, allowing other people in the business to do what they're good at. Because when it was just me, when I was like the lone wolf entrepreneur a few years ago, and I was in charge of every aspect of the business, when there's a lot of things I'm not good at. As you can probably tell, I'm like not a numbers person. Like I'll get on our exec meeting once a week and hear the numbers and be like, okay, I can understand them. I know they're good, but they don't stick in my head. Um, so when I was a lone wolf entrepreneur a few years ago, doing everything myself, I was bottlenecking a lot because of the fact that it was all dependent on me. So as soon as I was able to let go of that and allow other people to help out, that was a massive shift. And also be willing to give up
Hmm.
equity in my business to other partners for them to come in with their strengths, because I told myself a few years ago, I was like, what do I want to have? 100% of a grape or
Hmm.
a smaller percent of a watermelon, right? And so went for the watermelon.
Yeah, and I was equity precious early on. Couldn't even consider giving away or selling equity because all my businesses were so brilliant 25 years ago when I first started. But these days, when I see a business owner potentially thinking the same way as I used to, I talk of this Chinese proverb that it's better to have the tail of an elephant than the body of an ant. So you've done exactly the right thing, I think. You've
Mhm.
brought some business partners on. They haven't necessarily put cash into the business, but they've brought expertise and, more importantly, focus in areas where they have strengths and you that are your weaknesses. So
Yeah.
that's brilliant. What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
I would say the volatility sometimes, and also the not having enough history or data to see predictable patterns yet. And I feel like we're getting into that more now, but even seasonality, like seeing like what happens in September, what happens in January, when you only have like one or two like cycles to go on, you don't know if what you're experiencing now is part of a cycle or if it's something new. So that's been hard, a little bit of that. And there has been some volatility with, I mean, our world is different now than it was even a year ago with the economy and with wars happening and all those things. And that affects people's willingness to buy things, right? So we're kind of dealing with a lot of different variables. So sometimes I find that can be there can be some confusion or it can be stressful, but also I know that we're not alone. Like everyone is experiencing these kind of things right now, and we're just doing the best we can to figure it out. And the longer that we keep going and the longer we're in business, we will be able to see more patterns happening. But I think that's been the hardest because it was fast growth. We went from um within a year, it went from 5-figure months to 7-figure months. So yeah.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
What I love most is I really love working with the people that I'm working with. My partners are amazing. My coaching staff, who I'm working with most closely, are amazing people. I feel like I've attracted the best possible people who are like an extension of me. Like they really care about people, and that kind of ripples out towards our community. So definitely the people. That's been really great. And I've just learned so much, and I'm learning so much all the time. So interestingly, like I feel like a beginner. Like I still feel like a beginner in so many ways. And I'm still learning so much all the time. And I love that. I love like being curious and learning, and it's never boring. There's never boredom, that's for sure. So it's exciting. It's really been a fun ride. And I still feel like myself. I still feel like I'm at this beginner stage in a lot of ways. And also our business. Like I feel like we've just begun, which is really exciting too. Like I feel like we have a lot more growth and evolution to happen as well.
Yeah, on that interesting work, I've been chairing the second largest craft brewery here in Tasmania for about 7 years. We've got a great general manager on there, but occasionally he'll have a bad day and call me. I let him vent, and at the end of it all, I say is, "Well, Greg, at least you can't complain. You don't have an interesting job." So
Right. For sure. Yeah, definitely. There's always interesting challenges, and we're just learning a lot. Like we've simplified a lot more recently too. Like we were getting just there was just too much going on all at once. Now our processes are more simplified. Like we're just trying to keep everything cleaner. We're learning all the time, which is cool. Yeah.
what has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Biggest mindset shift, definitely the belief in possibility, and that life can transform in huge ways. And so I've seen it with myself, and then I've seen it in my students who've transformed their lives too. In the publishing world, so many of my students have done so much more than I did in publishing. Like they've taken what I taught them and expanded it in this massive way, which is really fulfilling. And that just brings more evidence to me of like the power that we all have to make a decision to change our lives and see it out to fruition. Um, it's been really amazing.
The number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Consistency and not being afraid of hard work. Not trying to hack things so that you're working less. Like the only way through is hard work. Like I told you in our business, like doing 65 webinar iterations, like that kind of a thing. Um, there's it's absolutely necessary to stay consistent and to work hard, but also in working hard too, realizing, making sure that what you're putting your work and your effort towards is actually going to be moving the needle for the business. Because like I was mentioning, when it was just me and I didn't have a team or anything, I was putting a lot of work and a lot of effort into things that I could have outsourced, and people could have done a lot faster, a lot better than I could have. And then I could have been, more of working on the business rather than in the business. So always being mindful of that. But beyond that, just knowing that there are going to be requirements sometimes to do like 13-hour days or to work on a Saturday or Sunday. Like, and I don't know, for me, there was a big shift with that too, like mindset shift in that as well, saying like, I get to do this instead of like, oh, I have to do this, like seeing it as a big drain and slog. Instead, feeling like, wow, I get to do this. Like this is something I created, and this is something I get to do.
Yeah, on hard work reminds me of one of my favorite Thomas Edison quotes: "Opportunities missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work."
Yes, right. That's it. And when I look at the beginning of my business journey, like when I started, even started publishing ebooks, I was so excited to work. I was so excited to like sit down on my computer and figure stuff out and get things out there. And like, I think finding ways of infusing like enthusiasm into work is really key too. And that's another thing I'm super grateful about with my people that I work with, like my partners and our team, is that there is a lot of that enthusiasm and that like high energy going on, which is key as well. Because if everything's a chore, it's gonna be really hard to keep going with things, right? So
Are one or more of these growth pillars standing in the way of you living the lifestyle you signed up for? People, strategy, marketing, funding, or systems? We have a free ebook filled with actions and templates on each of these growth pillars. Download for free from our website, growasmallbusiness.com. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Okay, so when we started building a team, especially the team of coaches that I work with, we wanted to make sure the students were really taken care of. So we brought in a lot of people at once, which was great because everything was covered. But also in kind of going gung-ho all at once for hiring a lot of team members. Obviously your expenses get inflated a lot. And so, we kind of had this like kind of up and down yo-yo thing going on where it was like, okay, we had to hire a bunch of people and like, oh, we don't need everyone. Let's like start to reduce everyone's hours. And then, oh, we may start to have to like lose a couple people here and there. And we were just getting a little bit too complicated or complex and more than we needed to be at certain points. And so what's worked best for us is having a more core group of people who work full time rather than having a whole bunch of like contractors that work small hours here and there. Because then when you have full-time people too, they've been really committed to our vision and committed to the business. So that's something that's super key, is making sure no matter what the team member is, if they're like for us, if it's like they're in coaching, they're in media buying, they're in sales or whatever, they have to be absolutely completely on board with our vision too, and what our intentions are with building this business and impacting people. And so culture fit is a huge thing for us, for team members in all aspects. And when we have had some people on who weren't a cultural fit, I just see the ripple effect that has in a negative direction. And so that's something that I've been focusing on in a big way, is making sure that everyone is aligned with our vision.
What are some things you recommend of building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Yeah, so the culture is massively important for us. And so one thing that has been important is when we're recruiting and when we're hiring, we're making sure that the people that we're bringing on board have a full understanding of what our priorities are for our business, what our focus is on, and it's the vibe we have. Like I mentioned before, super high energy. Everyone works super hard, but it's like there's this infusion of enthusiasm in it, and that I like on the coaching side of things, especially, is like we're all super caring individuals. Like we really do care about people, because that kind of translates out to our customers. And one thing I learned easily, and maybe because it also came naturally to me, even when I was just coaching by myself, is to really see people. And so for our staff too, like for all of our team, is like I'm making sure that I'm connecting personally with these people and that I see them and I value the contribution they're bringing in, and I'm listening to them, and making our company a great place to work for. And I feel like by being that way with them, especially like with the coaches, then that gives them they're better equipped and kind of have the permission to be more caring towards the students, towards the customers they're taking care of, right? So it's that's been super key. So I feel like the culture fit, prioritizing that at the recruitment stage, it has really benefit us.
Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Balance. Yeah, still, I don't think that balance is a stagnant thing. I think that's a balancing. And so it's always something that's in motion and something that's moving, because sometimes, I mean, they're going to be wobbly. Like that's just the nature of being human and being in business. But balance, like personal balance on a work life balance, I prioritize my health. That's been huge for me, is making sure that I'm taking care of myself and prioritizing relationships in my life. I'm a mom, so prioritizing my son, who's sitting right here with me in a hotel room, listening to my interview. Prioritizing family, Um, and there were points I feel early on where we grinded, which I feel like it's a necessary phase sometimes to really grind and really focus on work and have work to kind of take the priority away from the rest of your life. But I feel like right now I'm at a spot where getting rest and getting a break, even 1-2 days a week is really key, and it helps me perform better. And I noticed that too for my partners and everyone we work with too, making sure that everyone prioritizes taking care of themselves. It's really key.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
A lot. I've done, like, as far as like money wise, like 6 figures into personal development, into mentors, coaching, courses, masterminds. So it's huge. I was doing that a lot for years, up until about 2020. COVID hit. Really stopped doing the whole, like, all of the conferences and the networking and the masterminds, which was like, I was bummed about it because I love doing that kind of a thing, but also was a blessing in the way that it kind of forced me to be like, okay, you know what to do now. Like, I have permission to take everything that I learned and implement it now. And so that's been what I've been really focusing on the last couple of years is implementation. And with my business partner too. And I feel like my mastermind now is like my business partners, like it's my kind of internal.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.